shots.
Yeah.
Oh, you're in terrible shape.
Hmm.
These are the sort of things that, when you look at this matchup, kind of make me more comfortable to do those roachling all-ins. And we saw out of Sue, he just did it again and again and again and again, and it just kept working again and again and again and again. A lot of what makes maps bad for Zerg as an overall evaluation make it bad for Terran versus all-ins or against aggression early.
Yeah, and you were talking about like the idea of sustained defense, and that also just kind of makes me think about how actually that last game ended up going with Overgrowth, right? Like we didn't see the big two-base all-in by any means, but the reveal of the Roaches prompted Intense to go for, I would say, the unit that is a little bit better at the sustained defense, like the Siege Tank, right? So I'm almost kind of wondering, like, do you think, like, maybe after how Intense immediately reacted in that last game, if he did end up seeing, like, a Roach Warren, that would just be, like, the immediate cue of, like, okay, it's time to get some Siege Tanks out right now.
I mean, I think that siege tanks are weirdly going to be a good choice on this map. I think that, last game, the choice to go siege tank, I think, worked very, very well. I mean, even though the positioning was questionable sometimes, overall, it allowed him to stay alive for a long time. Intense, getting his third command center, not going to be doing anything that will have any good sustained defense early on. I think this is a perfect opportunity right now. Midday, he's going to be taking his third. That is really no question. There's the drone moving down, 6 minutes right on time. But I really think that throwing down that extra Roach Warren, not the extra Roach Warren, the first Roach Warren, throwing down pieces to attack. What can you do as Intense? You don't have a Banshee, you don't have siege tanks. You will have at best mines at this state.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll end up seeing how Intense actually decides to follow this up, what he's actually going to have for any kind of attacks that could come out, but it doesn't look like so far Midday doing anything indicating that he wants to go for any of those kind of Roach Warren openings, at least not just yet. He has thrown down a good number of his gas guys, I think just up to 3 gas guys so far.
3 is a good number for an all-in, said Sean, continuing to harp on the same point. I really, really want to see this. Look, the Overlord moved in for Midday.
Mm-hmm.
We see some Zerglings getting built. There's the lair. Ah, come on. Get that Baneling nest up there, man. Get that Baneling nest. I mean, now I'm going to reframe this entire game since it's looking more and more like Midday. Oh, there's a Roach Warren, but that's a little late for an all-inish thing. He might do a layer tech all-in. Still, my question of this entire game is, how is Zerg preparing for the 15-minute mark when he can't get up another base?
Well, only time will tell at this point, as the Hellions are trying to push in over here, and I think Midday just trying to deal with the Hellion harassment for now. Queen's going to be in a good position. We'll see if Midday gets as lucky as he did in that last game, picking off... Well, actually, no, it wasn't the last game. I think it may have even just been game number 2, where he got the free pickups on those Hellions, so I take it back. Never mind. Irrelevant point.
Well, this is interesting. We are seeing Roaches be the choice of tech for Midday again. I don't think this is a bad idea. This is Midday saying, look, I'm going to be making a lot of Roach Hydra with the goal of assaulting the third base. I mean, look at the third choice for Intense. Very open area. Very easy to assault from multiple sides. And Intense, if he doesn't get up enough bio, he's just... there's no cute defensive setup that holds off Roach Hydra. You need stuff.
Mm-hmm. And finally, Intense knows about the Roaches, and we'll see how he decides to react. Gonna be just getting up that starport. Actually, yeah, starport being added on much later after all the barracks have been added on. Going up to 5 barracks for getting that up.
I don't dislike this variant. You're just gonna get as much bio out as possible for that sort of continued push. Now, this is interesting. Intense seems to have recognized that he's up against Roach Hydra. He sees Roaches coming out, and again, his Spider Sense must be continuing to stay strong in this matchup because he's just going straight into Marauders, Marines, tanks. Looks like he, has not even begun production of a single medevac right now, and I think low medevac count is going to be his friend this game. Somewhere less than 24.
Somewhere in that general vicinity, but, you think about like how the last game went. Midday actually, by going for the style, he was able to eventually kind of eke out a nice advantage before, he went into that big attack move. Unfortunately, losing pretty much all of his army to the siege tanks into that kind of a smaller choke, etc. But Midday, I mean, going for this Roach Hydra style again, if he can make it work, if he can find a good way to defend his third expansion, he could very well set himself up into being in that same sort of position and not make the mistake he did last game.
Yeah, right now, I mean, see here, there's the build up to a big Roach Hydra attack at that third. This is the huge build up that Intense needs to have an answer for. Needs, needs, needs. Now, when I look at this, I'm still asking the question, how does Zerg get an expansion around 15 minutes? Because Terran's going to have a huge army. I mean, which expansion do you take? All of them are closer to Terran except for this far bottom one.
And even with that, like, you're going for a Roach Hydra kind of style. Like, you don't want to have, you're totally out of position. But actually, speaking of which, Hellions all getting caught out. I mean, a giant surround, actually, by the Roach Hydra.
That's not great, but that's not terrible either.
Yeah.
I mean, Intense knows what he's up against and is playing ultra passively. He's just now starting his 2-2, which is great, as is Zerg, but I really think this is still an edge to Intense here.
We're about to see the Roaches are now charging in. The bunkers have already been thrown down for Intense. He's looking to defend. He has a siege tank sieged up. Another one sieges up. Gets some good shots off on the Roaches and the Hydrals. The Hydrals powering on through. Is it going to be enough, though? The Zerg forces are starting to wear thin.
I don't know what Midday is doing. These attacks, he's running straight into bunkers and siege tanks and a full Marine Marauder army, and GG, well played. Intense clearly did not want to try to play that matchup deep on that map.
Definitely, and I think also, you know, when you go for the kind of style and everything, maybe he's feeling that pressure of like, you know, can't wait let this get too late, because as you were saying, like, fourth expansion gonna be difficult to take. So even if he sees the bunkers, he's thinking, oh man, I've got to make something happen. Of course, we saw like in game, the last game as well, Midday just maybe not feeling great right now. Maybe not making the decisions that he would normally like make in a non-pressure situation.
Yeah, you know, I think there are certain maps that players have where they just mentally tap out on, and I know a lot of Zergs do this on this map in particular. Merry-Go-Round is a really funky map. There's a lot of bases on the map, and almost all of them are... You have to have won the game before it's even okay to take them. So I would not be surprised to hear if Midday was like, well, you know, I want to do the all-in, and there it is. Didn't work, well, whatever, tap out. And Intense, I think, did a really smart job in identifying what was going on and playing accordingly. He won that game just by defending.
Yeah, that was actually a really, really interesting way of putting that. Yeah, he didn't actually have to be hyper-aggressive or anything. But, you know, I'm really interested to hear exactly what Intense was thinking about that game. We're not going to, you know, waste time by doing a winner's interview and then doing a pregame interview with Intense twice.
Yeah.
So we're just going to be going straight into the pregame interview. So, guys, we will be right back in just a little bit. Stay tuned for the finals. Hello, everyone. Welcome back for the grand finals of the Breakout Invitational Season 3. My name is Sphere Dragon. I'm joined here today by Day 9, and of course, the finalists we have from Pro Dolly, Kelazhur. How are you doing today, man?
Doing just fantastic, I guess. Getting to the finals when I only expected to get to the semifinals. I couldn't hope for more.
Okay, now I've got to ask, man. You have been very down on yourself about how you think you're going to perform in like the series and everything. I think even the group stages, you were kind of like, oh, you know, I think this person's going to be really hard. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to beat them. And you keep just making it over people one after another. You're finally here in the finals, facing off against Intense. Now, TVT, though, I know you said not your favorite matchup. In fact, I think you've quite literally said it's your least favorite matchup during your interview. But then after that, we've seen you like worked on it. You got to play an excellent TVT series versus Zahn and make the comeback into qualifying for the semifinals, etc. How you feeling versus going up against Intense?
Well, the thing is about Zahn, the second series was really close, and the last game was actually a comeback that I really had to fight for it. And I don't know, I think I'm just gonna have to work really hard if I want to beat Intense.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you something, and I want you to first take a deep breath and say to yourself in your mind, I can do this. What do you think the score is gonna be for this series?
I think it's gonna be 4-2 for Intense.
So much for my technique to try and boost your confidence. All right. Intense, man, how are you feeling from IVD Gaming?
I feel flattered, but I probably shouldn't be. That's how he's winning these games. He gets his opponent overconfident, and then they lose.
Ultimate metagame. He's gonna get you to like doom drop and be like, "Oh, I've got this."
And
instantly,
then, like...
he's gonna have like 7 turrets prepared. All right, so yeah, man, you on the other hand, you're actually on the exact opposite end of the spectrum. I did the interview with you, and we haven't seen your TVT just yet, but, well, I mean, besides the series versus QXE and everything, but one thing you did say, that series aside, you said TVT, you feel very confident, and you feel it's your best matchup in a sense, and most importantly, I think that one of the things that you were saying is, to put you on the opposite end of the spectrum, you sometimes feel so confident in this matchup that you start doing things that you shouldn't, and you end up losing because of that. You almost get arrogant about how good you are in TVT. So would you say that that is still the case? Are you worried at all about this match?
Well, luckily, QXC got to humble me a little bit earlier, so...
Well, great! I will be sure to keep the show matches in place just for that purpose. But I gotta ask, man, series prediction, how are you feeling?
4-2, Diego.
I'm not sure if that's just a mind game or what.
Oh my god, this is terrible.
I'm just gonna see you guys like regular moving each other's your units into the other person's army. It's like, no, kill my army. It's like I want to be right about this, but there's quite a bit more. There's quite a bit more on the line. As just a quick update, we actually did have a donation to the prize pool, which, by the way, guys, you can do if you have money for it. Obviously, if comes down to, I keep saying tacos, but let's go with something else. I don't know, if it's between the next Thai food, I know I like a lot of Thai food. If you need to get a pad Thai or you need to donate to the prize pool and you haven't eaten today, please get the pad Thai. But if you find that you have some extra money, please do consider donating. You can hit down below on the Twitch stream. But we actually did have a donation during that last series. It was actually from the real Nan Man, an amazing guy, does the actual show, SC2 Up and Coming, go figure, kind of in the same theme as his tournament, and seriously unbelievably helpful. Actually ran the qualifiers for the Breakout Invitational. Donated a lot of money. Now bring up the prize pool to $1,863, up another $250. So thank you so much to Nan Man. And you guys are playing for a good bit of it. 50% going to first place, so.
Damn! Oh, now Diego, who's gonna win? What are your predictions?
No, I have to win. I have to win.
All right, good, intense predictions.
Good luck, Diego. No, I think he'll win.
Nah.
Almost there. We almost have them rooting for themselves. We got one of them. Very nearly.
All right, guys. Well, they need a little bit of help with it. Be sure to tweet out at them and root for them. Give them your support. Give them your follows on Twitter. We're going to be jumping into this final series. Gentlemen, best of luck. Head over to your player booths. And we'll see you guys, one of you, in the winner's interview.
We'll see one of you in the winner's final, and we just watch one guy practicing builds against the computer. That's the finals. And for $1,800, this guy beat the medium AI. And everyone's like, oh, making Reddit threads.
Oh, man. Okay, I'm just going to say right now that you joke about that, but my plan, 5 years down the line, when I am averaging 100 viewers and I become E-famous, I was actually gonna start a series where I just had AIs battling versus AIs. Do you see have you seen what they do? They actually do like the funniest stuff against each other. You have like a queen halfway across the map, like transfusing like an overlord that was getting killed off by a Viking. It's actually like really exciting.
Yeah, because like, you know, let's talk about it after we introduce the players.
Okay.
I know this is about them, but we really need to come back and talk about AI because it's awesome. All right, so up in the top right-hand corner, the only finalist who's 100% certain that he's destined to lose. It is Intense. Clap, 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 clap.
And his opponent, spawning down in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, represent Team Pro Dolly. It is the Red Terran player, Kelazhur from Brazil. Equally unconfident in himself.
You know, for as much as we production folk like to hype them up, I think that's completely appropriate to be like, nah, you know, I'm not really feeling that. Like, I'm here to play, not to predict. And that's one thing. Actually, this ties into what we were going to discuss when it comes to the AI. With the AI, the designers of the game are really just making tools, right? They're just defining these units. They don't actually get to choose what the units are supposed to do. Like, I think the best example is the Reaper. Was supposed to be that thing you'd have a few of in your army.
Yeah. That
you'd break off from the main army ball to do little harassment things. Isn't that cool? What happened when it came out? People went 5 racks mass Reaper.
Oh, yes.
And just slaughtered Zergs. And it was very much like, wait, but you're not supposed to do that. That's wrong.
Bunkers are supposed to be defensive things to defend your expansion, not defend your opponent's hatchery from going down. Like,
so you can't actually define what the role of a unit is because the communities are the ones that's going to figure that out. So that you still got to make an AI, right? So you get to see hints of what was
intended.
Was like an intended possibility, you know. So you get those like really funky mixtures of things, you know, like where a base has like 3 factories and 3 barracks, and like there's like a Reaper drop with a medevac, and it's like healing the Reapers, and you're like, what am I looking at?
Oh man, I think actually one of my favorite examples of that, before we jump back into the game, is back in Brood War. You may be familiar with this one. If you ever decide to face off against, you join like those 4v4 or like, you know, 7v1 AI stomp or something.
Yeah.
And there would be that one guy that sends a scouting worker over, attacks the workers, and the AI pulls all of its workers to try and kill off that one guy. It's like, we're under attack. Yeah. And it was like they didn't expect workers to be harassing, I guess.
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, that still happens where like, or that happened at the start where you'd like attack one thing and you just pull all workers from all places. But you know, as these players are building up, I think Terran vs. Terran is one of the most beautiful matchups in the game right now. There's so much variety in the opening, there's so much positioning and back and forth that can happen in the mid game. But I think to understand the status of TVT, you have to understand the tank drop, where basically it has become all the rage, where you get some tanks, normally 2, and some Marines, normally 8. You just send 2 medevacs in, drop that, and you are hitting before your enemy has stim and combat shields. They don't actually have a good answer. And it's extremely difficult to assault tanks without stim and combat shield. So, we're seeing these openings right now, and it looks like Kelazhur is going for a very aggressive variant. He's going 1-1-1 with no add-ons to go for Hellion medevac push. We're seeing 1-1-1 from Intense with add-ons, which is Banshees transitioning into tank pressure. And I still think that tank drops of some magnitude will be happening in this series. Maybe even in most of the games.
I definitely would not doubt it, but just speaking about like exactly what this opening is, I remember actually casting another series actually on Friday. I'm trying to remember. I definitely saw a TVT where this very similar sort of thing happened, where one player opens up with a big Hellion drop, drops the Marines over in the main base, moves the Hellions in over like from the front, and sees what damage you can do, and the other player has a Banshee out on the map. And if you can keep that Banshee alive with Cloak, there's actually not that many units back at home to defend, but
he had the opportunity to kill the Banshee. He could have killed the Banshee. No, that's exactly what you want to do. You want to drop and kill it off, but he's getting a little greedy. He's going straight in for the main. He wants to do the pressure there. The Banshee, what are you doing? Go attack! This is the thing that we saw happen multiple times in the last series. A little bit of stressful moments happen, and we saw both players kind of pause their mental thought process.
Yeah, and
Very dangerous.
Quite literally, not just their mental thought process, but like control of their units. And now we end up seeing Kelazhur, he's resumed processing and going up into the main base, seeing what damage he can do. The auto turret taking a little bit more of that fire, but it looks like Kelazhur getting the better end of this.
He's definitely killing off workers. He's already killed off 4 so far, 5 fall down. We see in the army tab a little bit more for Intense, but 26-21. We can talk about percentages, but I like absolute numbers a little more. If you're 4 workers ahead, that's almost 200 resources a minute that you are behind your opponent. 200 a minute. It's an incredibly high differential between the two players. We see Ring Around the Rosie happening. Oh, that hurts.
Oh, man. And there's not going to be enough energy for another scan for a good while, actually. But this command center, like the SCV is going to get killed off. There's not going to be enough energy for another 20 in-game seconds. I am almost wondering if this command center is just going to get canceled.
Yeah, it's bound to be. I mean, there is a little bit more time to be spent killing off these guys that are heading out there, but this is always the nice part about Banshees. It's like the mistake-punishing unit. Kelazhur, I really like that he has already gotten up his basic factory, or his basic barracks infrastructure, and Intense is behind on that. But I'd like to see some more add-ons from Kelazhur, because then he can begin applying more pressure with Stim Combat Shield Marines.
Yeah, and exactly as you were saying, like Stim's such an important upgrade right now, and when we talk about that, Stim almost finished up for Kelazhur, and where is Intense going to be when those kind of big aggressions pieces like come out and you end up having Marines that don't have Stim versus Marines that do?
Well, I think that as long as you're passive, you can hold on pretty well early game with tanks, just can't get a little over-eager. Kelazhur is really oddly building out of these 3 barracks, which I think makes sense given his economic situation, but I think an argument could still be made for being a little bit more greedy, getting those add-ons, preparing for a bigger attack. This Banshee has just been the sickest hero this entire game. This is just remarkable.
Actually, I think it's the second Banshee as it just now runs out of cloak energy. The other one did get killed off as it ran out of energy a little bit earlier. But drop coming out from Kelazhur, 8 Marines in the mix, and we'll see how much damage can actually get done. Intense looks like he's very much anticipating like that kind of drop play right now. He has units positioned in Raven, Siege Tank, all in the main base.
Yeah, I love an early Raven in this matchup. It's so resourceful for throwing down the extra Seeker missiles to tank a little bit of extra damage. You can deal pressure, or you can just sit back at home and everything's going to be all fine. I see a little bit of a drop. I see a little bit of a tank in the drop, and of course, Intense is already prepared. He has a tank in his main, but doesn't change the fact that if you can get that one tank in a good location...
whoa, a lot of auto turrets thrown down immediately for Intense, and gonna push that
Very
back.
nice. Yeah, I mean, this is an opportunity for Intense to actually begin to get mobile. He has the block of turrets on the right side. I think he's regretting having waited so long for Stim, but... I think that this is always okay in this matchup. It always starts a little calm. I don't really think anyone is at a particular advantage or disadvantage. until I look back at Kelazhur's base, and I'm just baffled to see still no add-ons.
Yeah, finally just now going down. Must be stream cheating, but not really, because there is a delay on the stream. But Banshee now coming back in, looking for a kill on the Siege Tank. Oh, almost gets it, but Vikings come in to save the day.
Well, at this point in time, we see that Kelazhur has moved out to his little peak outside the front. We see really no difference in the construction in the main. Everyone's pretty much just going for the usual 5 structure special, 3 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport. Intense, though, is going to begin applying the pressure. Moving out at this point is a big territory siege. You're trying to grab a position where you can deal damage to the potential future expansion. So we see it Intense moving up. This is great. If he can force Kelazhur to take an expansion at the top left, that would be very nice. You don't really want to expand too close to your opponent in this matchup.
And Intense is getting into a decent position, moving over here to this 3rd expansion. Siege Tanks gets siege up first for Intense, and Kelazhur realizes, oh, that's a dangerous area to go into. Oh, maybe he doesn't. Takes some big hits on his Marines.
That's what's so amazing about this matchup. You can just dart forward and pull back and get so much value from those tanks. I mean, tanks have almost unbounded value in this matchup. As long as you are smart about your pulls, you can get gigantic twists and turns and who has the lead or not just based on that. So similarly, even though Kelazhur is behind in supply, he can just do some nice positioning or, do a little counter drop. Don't mind that. He knows where most of the army is. It's down here at the bottom side. Neither player has taken a third, so that kind of makes it hard for any player to have a permanent edge.
Yeah, back at home, Intense has actually macroed up a little bit more of an army and has, left a decent number of siege tanks sieged up, ready for that kind of drop harassment over in the natural expansion. Has some Marines over there as well. So if he can intercept this drop, make sure that it doesn't get into too good of a position, he should be able to deal with it. But I think actually an SCV may have just got a little bit of a glimpse of it.
This position is just kind of dirtily for both players. Intense is now stepping forward to try to pick these off. Great move from Intense, trying to seize this opportunity. He's not going to be able to get the medevacs, but what makes this kind of a dirtily spot is that no one has a third yet, and it's almost at 16 minutes. That's pretty uncommon in any matchup.
Yeah, I think Kelazhur's looking to break that trend right now, though. With the 2 Vikings available, he's going to be able to really shut down a lot of that air vision and gradually push Intense out of this 3rd location, just with the fact that, you know what, those medevacs, they can't get that air vision. So if you want to attack your opponent's siege tanks, you got to scan.
Now we're starting to see Intense begin to cup around this center. He's taken the watchtower. He's still monitoring for thirds. If you can just shut your opponent out of a third, you win. It's the simplest starvation play. It's kind of hard to shut someone out of a natural. You're pretty crazy if you think you can do that consistently. But, Kelazhur is starting to realize, yeah, gosh, I really can't move out. The third hold has been abandoned from Intense, but it doesn't make it any easier to defend because right now, Kelazhur still has this threat of an attack at the front. Intense, where are you going? He's trying to find any weakness, but these tanks are in pretty good position.
Yeah, single medevac now loading up also for Intense. Going to be looking to maybe swing it again from the right side, making sure that, hey, that 3rd expansion hasn't been taken yet, right? And it's like, well, hasn't quite yet, but Kelazhur moving a lot of his forces over there.
This is all it takes in this matchup, getting your opponent out of position. That is the name of the game. And right now, Intense is the one manipulating best. He moved forward-wise, caused Kelazhur to pool up there, and then he seized this really aggressive position on this right side. And Kelazhur, you can almost see the doubt where he's like, do I want to attack? Well, no, I might lose my main. Do I want to try to push this? Well, it's kind of hard because there's 7 tanks sieged up.
Yeah, it's not really a comfortable position, and it makes you wonder, like, he's scanning around and saying, okay, you don't have a 3rd expansion, right? And actually, the most unfortunate timing ever, the expansion is going to be landing as soon as that scan expires.
The good old 20-minute third timing. And we're seeing Intense try to step forward and take out those Vikings, but again, every little misstep counts. The Viking misstep, the Marine misstep. Kelazhur, I think, can begin to get a little active with his Marines, but he needs to not get active with too many. A few tanks always need to stay back with Marine support. Ooh, Ooh, I like this choice from Kelazhur. This is a nice mixture. This is a good split. He has his Marines continuing to get rallied by those 4 tanks. He's left some there. He's picked off the central control. And now Intense is going to have to either retreat or go for it.
Well, he does actually throw down a scan at exactly the right time to see, hey, you know what? A lot of your forces seem to be missing. He's going to be going for the drops on top of the tanks to try and buffer some of the damage. Is he going to work out? The siege tanks on siege manage to get massive damage immediately. Kelazhur retreating back home. Is he going to be in time, though?
Oh, Intense now has the chance. Intense can now do the money siege location. You see where those 2 missile turrets are? Well, on the other side, by the 3rd, if your enemy sieges tanks up there, you start to lose workers. This is a nightmare scenario for Kelazhur. He has to take this forward expansion, which is kind of a pain. Same thing for Intense. Both of them are in a little bit of this awkward zone. You really want to take the one that's flush with the bottom or the top of the map. Those expansions secure that really important point by that natural expansion. And right now, Kelazhur is pinned. Intense has him locked in.
Yeah. Is Intense aware of the fact that Kelazhur has started mining at that other left-hand side 3rd expansion, though? I'm almost afraid that he's going to just overstay his welcome here a little bit, but forces moving along the bottom left-hand side, and he's going to see all these Marines.
What a great move from Intense. He doesn't need the whole army there. He has this one army pincered, and Kelazhur suddenly is starting to show weakness. He's losing this attack up at the top side. It looks like he's going to begin losing this attack up in his main.
Oh my god, and actually all the forces... Kelazhur losing his 3rd, but honestly, I think that Intense may very well also detect, like, I think he just threw down a scan, saw that, hey, you know what, he could also keep that force on the right-hand side from ever taking this other 3rd expansion. He just keeps that there, and what does Kelazhur do from here? He's moving across the map.
Kelazhur is trying to dart across. He does have the edge of having his 2-2 done sooner, but Intense, well, actually, this is a pretty nice push. If he can actually get into the expansion, he's getting a lot of free Marines. I mean, it's all up to these siege tanks from Kelazhur, and they have to be real heroes. This expansion's gonna die. This is ridiculous.
Oh my god, TVT positioning so important, but Intense inches forward actually takes out a handful of the siege tanks of Kelazhur at the same time. 3rd expansion goes down. Oh my god, Kelazhur, he's going for the drop.
He's going into the main base. He can deal significant damage here. The retreat path is open on this map. You can manage to get away. There is the high ground arena, and it looks like all the Marines are starting to pull back. There's the launch in. There's the emergency afterburners. Immediately dart back home. And I actually think that Kelazhur is going to be able to kill off this expansion, and we still have no 3rd bases for the players in this game at the 24-minute mark. What?
Oh my god, almost as ridiculous as the fact that Intense once again has 21 medevacs, and I think is still producing more, so gonna be seeing more of those, but oh god.
That's what's been going on. You know, I didn't have the unit tab open, and I haven't been following this gigantic force. 23 medevacs is too many. I mean, some players stay extremely low, even at like 4 medevacs, just to ensure that they have enough for tanks and Marines, favoring the second factory instead of the reactor and starport. This is way, way too many. I mean, I don't, look how many of them have full energy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's almost like getting to that ridiculous point again where he has more medevacs than he's gonna have or need Marines, but he's gonna charge in over here. This may actually be enough for him to push in. There's not that many units left over for Kelazhur. The siege tanks doing some great damage for Kelazhur, but oh, it's just not gonna be enough.
Intense, by the skin of his teeth in that fight, managed to break through. He'll get the win. But man, what a weird game. What an odd one. What a weird game. Dude, Robbie, that game was odd, dude.
Oh my god. 3rd expansion's not allowed, apparently.
Yeah, I mean...
Is the motto right now.
Yeah, why take... they were doing their Protoss circa every year impersonation. Whoa! Take that, Protosses. Learn to expand. And Protosses are like, no, I'll stay in Grandmaster, thank you very much. But like you can see like all the hidden threats, right? It's like the way that insecurity is portrayed in Black Swan. It's like really obvious how scared everybody is. Where, you know, they have like tank siege up in the main. A sensor tower went down on 2 bases. Like, I just want to make sure there's no one already inside my base. You know, there was so much fear because you can see that as a few tanks in the bad spots can destroy everything.
Yes.
However, they're still too safe. You still don't. You don't need to do that much. You don't need to abstain from a third.
Well, I honestly think it's almost like interesting because that was the way that Kelazhur, he had like the sensor tower and all that stuff. We're joking about that, but honestly, it almost just seemed like Intense was able to get into that really great position, and it felt like the big problem was Kelazhur was never ever able to find a way to break it, and I'm almost wondering if it didn't seem to me like Kelazhur's decision to not get a third was almost, it seemed like an involuntary one. It was like, how am I going to get a third? He tries to take a third in the top left, and it's like, oh, gets denied. I
mean, we talked about this at the start of the day. I want to say it again. You have to sort of expand into your fear. You have to say, ooh, this doesn't seem like a great time to expand, and then just do it, because this is how we've seen players cut 3 or 4 minutes off the time to take their third base, because they're just going, screw it. There's your third. Come on, kill it. And it turns out it's actually very hard to kill, so I hope we see these players expand more aggressively. And Intense already commenting in game on the fact that he has 24 medevacs on the field. LOL, OLOL.
Very much so, and of course, as you were saying, that is Intense up in the top left-hand corner of the map, representing IVD Gaming, and currently up in the series 1-0.
And in the opposing corner, we would love to see him take a third base. We'd even love to see some of that beautiful play that allowed him to 3-0 his way to the finals. It is Dolly's Kelazhur. Well, I already like what I'm seeing. Okay, so Nimbus, Ravi, you want to talk about Nimbus problems?
Well, D9, I'll tell you, as a Protoss player, no. Do you want to talk about Nimbus problems?
No, you know what? Tell me your Nimbus problems as a Protoss player. What are your Nimbus problems, Ravi?
Oh my god, my Protoss problems on this map are that I really like blink all-ins, and I have trouble doing blink all-ins on this map.
What a Protoss style answer. I thought you were going to say, I hate when I get dropped on my natural. And I was going to be like, nice segue, Ravi. But you're like, well, when I cannon rush on this map, sometimes they're already walled in. And I'm like, damn it, Ravi. That's not what I wanted to talk about. Okay, like dropping on the natural, or on the natural. If we can, from our amazing and glorious witness, Curran TV, who is doing the observing here, if you can go to the natural expansion of Intense at the back door, look at how juicy that is to drop for Kelazhur. Look at that juicy angle. Oh, yeah, there's this tiny ramp. It's not a lot of surface area. It's close to Kelazhur's base. This is what we call a sort of rotational advantage, where Kelazhur has an advantage against the top left-hand player, which so happens to be where Intense lies. So oftentimes, whoever can Doom drop first gets a mega win. And it looks like both these players are saying, screw bases. I want to attack faces.
Definitely. And factory openings is going to be leading into those starports. And I wouldn't be too surprised to see, once again, that Banshee opening. I know that Intense himself has kind of said, like, going for the 1-1-1, just very much his standard go-to. It always ends up working out in terms of the flexibility that provides, in terms of, you know, you can go for the Raven if you need to. You can get that utility from it. Or you can go for the Banshee, put some pressure on. And we saw, I think in the last game, Banshee worked out relatively well.
You know, Banshee seems like a good unit. Banshee has good buttons. I think the Banshee is one of the strongest units in the game for the period of time where it is useful. It forces you to do so much with just one of them. And it doesn't interfere with any of the other basic things that you want. You want a Raven up. It has a lot of long utility. You want tanks up. You want Marines up. Well, you got the 1-1-1 formation, so you get to do all of it.
Yeah, and of course you can always toss that tech lab over to your barracks, etc. But for now, Kelazhur are going to be going for the Raven, and once again, Intense going for that Cloak Banshee. See if you can make maybe another natural expansion cancel happen again. But you know, Kelazhur, again, different opening from the last game where he was going for that faster Hellion drop with some very, very awkward kind of engagements in the center of the map last time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always, can I just say, okay, Ravi, do you have styles that you just love to cast because they get you excited, and styles that you just hate to cast because they just bum you out?
Oh yeah, of course. I think everyone does.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be inhuman of me to say something like, I enjoy all mixtures of all units. No, I'm judgmental against Hellions specifically. Now, let me tell you, if one player is going Hellion Viking and the other player isn't, I'm aroused. If they're both going Hellion, that is just the worst experience, because it's like, well, whatever happens, it's going to be decided by this first volley of fire, and then one guy's lined up, and I'm like, well, guys, that's the end of the show. This player is certainly dead, and here's the Banshee sneaking in for Intense. I love this choice from Kelazhur to circumvent Banshees entirely.
He doesn't have any scans. He doesn't have a missile turret, actually. Okay, well, sorry. Whoa. Caster Flub right there.
Yeah,
Raven
no,
is out.
I distracted you. No, I totally know. I could see you looking at me and not the game. That's fantastic. But I really enjoy this sort of style from Kelazhur because you're still getting your expansion at a pretty reasonable time, and you can push pretty quickly here.
Well, Banshee actually gets cleaned up, not getting that much damage, and 4 workers and such. But I think last game we did see the second Banshee, and yeah, there is a second Banshee on the way for Intense. So it's sort of interesting because you brought it up earlier, and Banshees are great at that certain time where they can do damage, but I always felt like, by the time there's a Raven and a Viking out, that time really is not there as much.
Yeah. Let's briefly appreciate this rush to tank drop from Kelazhur. He gets a reactored starport to get up 2 medevacs. He's going to load up the 8 Marines. He's got the Raven out, so that means he has extra boosts with this push, but his big danger is that he has no Banshee defense back home. A lot of players have been building 1 Banshee and quitting. Here we see Intense not actually doing that. Intense is in his expansion, but I think Kelazhur is just going to drop in the main and seriously wreck.
Yeah, and Engineering Bay is only just now going down for Kelazhur. The drop has unloaded and is sieging up in range of the tech lab and the factory. Oh no.
Oh, it looks like the tank's moving forward. Intense is taking some big hits there, is trying to auto turret as fast as he can, but Intense is just slaying that. And in the meantime, Intense's Banshee, it's on hold position. It's not doing anything. The tank drop is a failure from Kelazhur, but the Banshee is not being the hero it needs to be.
Kelazhur still has not started those missile turrets, though. Only just now getting that started over in the main base. There are no more SCVs at the natural expansion, though. And you can already see that Intense is leading up a solid 8 workers by this point.
Yeah, I mean, Intense did basic stuff better. He has a better infrastructure in his base. He had a better defense. I mean, he's ahead 8 workers. I mean, it can't be emphasized enough how much this is all about money at the end of the day. You can do a drop that deals a lot of damage, but if you are still behind in income, it just doesn't matter.
Very true, and I think that Intense is very much going to be behind that sentiment, and he's moving out once again with a little bit of a Marine tank push. His stim is going to be a good bit of ways away, so Kelazhur going to have that kind of thing going for him, having stim done. I think you were saying this before, so helpful at pushing into those siege tanks sieged up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it showed both the power and the foils of this sort of play. Oh my god, this timing is really, oh my god. This is awful amazing. I don't even know what to describe this as. The drop timing is perfect, but the move out with the addition of his forces is not. He's going to walk into an empty base, and Intense is just going to pull back to his main. 1 main versus 0 main is often good for the guy with the main still.
Oh god, well Kelazhur is going to see how far in he can actually get into the base before he starts encountering some of those siege tanks of Intense. Intense is already set up at that natural expansion ramp. He has his SCVs pulled, ready to buffer any damage and make sure they can't do too much more damage. Intense taking out the factory, out...
No,
oh my god, the factory die?
He got the factory, he got it before the tank comes out. Intense is doing this push with 7 Marines, 4 tanks, a pair of hidden Marines within the tanks. The starport is starting to take damage. The main orbital is still at almost full health. We're seeing drop on the tanks and Marines dropping on tanks, but the rest of the Marines not coordinating very well. Oh no, he's gonna Seeker Missile and hurt his own units.
Oh god. Oh! Loses a lot of Marines over there, and oh god.
Oh no, oh this just hurts my little heart to see.
Kelazhur, I mean, for the first time of today, I actually feel like Kelazhur, his statements and saying that he's not super confident, and I know he's saying he's not super confident in his TVT specifically over the other matchups, I'm starting to feel it a little bit more.
Oh, this breaks my little heart. It really does. I mean, all of his units have the StarCraft's star on there, the little cute animation being represented well. I mean, even on his little rotating Dolly, he's got some cute cartoon work there. Pro Dolly. Oh, man. And then he goes for his little tank drop. Everything is little in this world because it's adorable. And he just gets murdered in the face in the front door.
Oh.
Oh, please shoot the weakened one first. No, the Vikings on... Oh! Never mind, this could be good.
Yeah, stimming up and taking out one of the siege tanks. That siege tank almost goes down. Oh my god, survives with 4 health. That's really annoying, but the Viking actually lands. And he's gonna actually clean this up with the Vikings.
I mean, Intense is getting to walk Marines up the front ramp. That's never a good sign, Intense. Just playing it smart. I'm not going to try to do the tank drop play. I'm going to try to defend against the tank drop play, and defend he did. Attack he also did.
Yeah, and honestly, just a really great style from Intense. I mean, we were talking earlier on about how this spawn position is definitely going to favor Kelazhur with how he could drop in the natural, but Intense has the response. He's taking out a majority of the SCVs of Kelazhur, and Kelazhur doing his best to do what he can, saving his SCVs in his medevac, but he just doesn't have an answer to the follow-up push.
You know, it's all about econ. It's all about the money. Intense held it off, and he's got the better income stream coming on in. So his 1A is stronger than Kelazhur's 1A. He's just sending in more units. He'll probably lose this force. He'll send in another round of units. He'll probably lose that force, but with a lot more left over. And so on and so forth, and Intense almost doubling the supply now.
Yeah. Siege Tank gonna go down. I think this may be the final pull as the SCVs come off the line to try and repair it, but nope. Taken out before it can, and GG well play gets called. Intense going up 2-0 in a best-of-7 series.
And I gotta say, this is always really nice because, well, it's really nice because of what Intense said beforehand when, I can't remember if this was on camera or not, but when he joined the call, he just said, hey, what are you going to do about Nimbus? He made that joke because he was so unconfident on Nimbus. He talked about how easy it was to get Doom dropped and lose instantly. And the fact that Intense won on that map, I think, is going to be a huge boost to him. He is still the last holdout of people who want to support him. Hopefully, after these 2 games, he's really starting to think, wow, man, I can really do this. I rocked on my least favorite map in the pool.
Yeah, definitely, no kidding. And, you know, I think that there are a lot of people still cheering for Kelazhur. Kelazhur, he's got to make it over this. He's got to, honestly, this is, in a sense, like he's said it multiple times before, what he feels is his weakest matchup. So if he can make a comeback in this, if he can find even just a victory against Intense in this next game, that may be what he needs to just say, like, okay, I need that little bit of extra confidence, and now I can move into the rest of the series and start just taking it 1 game at a time and say, okay, let me just figure out my game plan on this map and do that. Although, I would say game plan for that map should have worked out, but...
Yeah. I mean, King Sejong Station is nice for tank drops, but for kind of weird reasons. The fact that there's such a long ground path makes you feel a little more safe, a little more comfortable moving out with half your army in medevacs. But also there's 2 big attack angles for the main base, so you can drop whichever one is more vulnerable. And this gives you a little bit of an opportunity to do it more frequently than you would on other maps.
Well, we're going to go ahead and jump in and introduce the players, and spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, quite literally wishing his opponent the best and saying some reinforcing words of encouragement. It is IVD Gaming's Intense.
And in the opposing corner, currently down 0-2, hoping to win at all. It is Dolly's Kelazhur.
At some point, John, if he wants to even have a remote chance of winning the series, he has got to win a game. That is a mathematical fact.
Yeah.
So,
I think that your mathematical soundness of statement is pleasing to me. He would like to have what we might say is at least one win.
mm-hmm.
He would like to not be blown out. You know, I was actually talking about this with a friend of mine, how unfortunate it is when there is a big finals event.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so think about this from like a show standpoint. I mean, I know you know this, but maybe I'm talking to the audience now. So think about it from a show standpoint. Do you want to have semifinal, and final all at the same time? Well, that could take away from the final match. Players maybe are preparing more for their semifinal than for the final. You know, there's that risk. Also, it kind of doesn't put as much precedent, or not precedent, but as much focus on the final match. But how scary is it when you have something like
a $100,000 tournament all held on one day, and it's a PvP finals, and every single game or half the games are a cannon rush.
Because I'm talking about, like, imagine if it was just the finals, like people remember in, what was it, 2010? No, 2009 BlizzCon. When during 2009 in like October, November, it was Jaedong versus Yellow in the grand final of Brood War, and the whole finals was 45 minutes long. And it was a Zerg versus Zerg, and it was like 8-minute game, 13-minute game, 8-minute game. Done, go home. Jaedong won all of them.
We saved a day for this.
Yeah, that's the worst, man. I don't know how you avoid that other than by like, I want all finals to be epic. I want to be the guy with the pipe that hits intense on his elbows while he's playing and he gets distracted. Oh, my little elbows! And I'm like, that's right, you tie the series up 2-2 now, Intense. But unfortunately, in my mind, we can't do those things in reality. I mean, Intense is crushing right now, quite honestly.
He is, and you know, I will say though that every single game, Kelazhur still has 2 games to turn it around, because as unlikely as it is, as hard as it is, if you can start turning it around after being down 0-3, you can still come back. Whether you win 4-3 or 4-2, you still get first place at the end of the day. And Kelazhur has got to make use of those opportunities, so we'll see what he's planning. He's going for the same Raven opening again, but looks like Intense the one going to be that's changing it up a little bit.
Double gas from Kelazhur. I think that's a sign that we're going to have some big aggressive tacking for sure. I think he's going to get his Raven up, switch the starport with the factory, or excuse me, switch the factory to the tech lab and the barracks to the reactor, and then an attack. I think Intense is neglecting what is probably the most popular build on this map, which is just a one base, extremely aggressive push.
Yeah, especially when you start thinking about like natural expansions later on in the matchup, like if you siege up some siege tanks down by those destructible rocks at your natural, that is a very scary position to try and break through, but we'll see how successful this is for Intense. Intense actually just flying it straight and on through to the center. It's like this is a drop, but really it's just a shortcut to your base.
This is kinda hilarious.
Oh, my God.
I mean, Intense is just storming through. He's killed off the auto turret. Kelazhur is doing...
That would have mine.
Oh,
okay.
Oh my God, Kelazhur, my heart. What are you doing? But don't lose the Raven. Get it out of there. It doesn't have any energy. It's in the orange. Kelazhur, run it away. No. Oh God, that's so horrible. Oh my God, my little heart. My tiny little gentle heart. See, now Intense is going to have the opportunity to begin building tanks, Marines, everything that we're seeing Kelazhur make. But he's going to be able to hold it off. He's going to be able to stay alive. And the units lost tab, we see 6 workers have already been killed by Intense.
Yeah, and that is exactly where that 7-worker lead is. Around 6-ish workers ahead now. And God, Intense is just being annoying with this final Marine, the final survivor of the drop. That's like, yeah, that was worth it. Let me see if I can get a little bit more out of it.
So cruel. So unkind.
So at this point, Intense, he's a little bit further behind on how fast the orbital command, etc., is done. So Kelazhur can get out a couple extra workers, but still, that is a big economic deficit to overcome. How is Kelazhur going to respond? He's moving out across the map right now with just a handful of Marines. Half of them actually damaged halfway down in their health.
Yeah, I mean, even though the supply counts are equal, Intense is miles ahead. He already has 3 barracks done and a starport factory going on to the next stage. Meanwhile, back in Kelazhur's base, we see lag. We see complete and utter lockdown. Intense, pull in the plug.
This is the way, Sean. This is how Kelazhur can come back in the game.
This is how it's done. This is how it's done.
Hopefully, hopefully we will be able to get this resolved, and Intense will be able to unlag himself. But yeah, Kelazhur just leading up by quite a bit, and we can even see now, like, just take a look at that SCV count. It's 31 SCVs to 22 SCVs. Yeah. Kelazhur has to really make some big damage happen, but is it actually going to be possible? He's going to have, I don't know, he's going to have to catch Intense very far out of position or something.
He needs to deal damage right now. At this point, we see Kelazhur moving across the map into a player that has better production, is ahead in stim, is I think ahead in tank. I think tank count is the only thing that Kelazhur really has. And again, the supply counts look even, but soon enough, Intense is going to be able to spend all that money that's coming in. He's going to just soar ahead. And he'll wind up that 15-20 supply up on Kelazhur. So Kelazhur really needs to do something big here. And I think for his sake, I'm kind of glad that the game disconnected so he has a chance to recoup, rethink, go into this knowing, like, all right, well, there's that attack coming up, and all right, let me make sure that I'm not going to forget to macro and all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And especially after you, like, take a lot of damage, you always get put into, like, that weird feeling, that weird mental state where you're like, oh, God, now I'm playing this game from behind. Like, that just is a really terrible feeling already, on top of being down 0-2 in the series. So there is that, like, idea of, like, he can recuperate, but I'm also kind of worried because that's one of those things where you start sitting on that. You're like, how do I do this now? Like, I'm already down 0-2. This is such an important game. Your mind starts racing because you don't have anything to think. In some situations, I almost think that some players would prefer that they didn't have those moments where they weren't playing StarCraft, because if they're playing StarCraft, they're not thinking about, God, I'm so far behind. Oh, God, I need to, what am I going to do right now?
Yeah, I mean, I've been invited. I will join the game. I think that staying calm when things that have nothing to do with your gameplay go wrong is almost as important as your actual gameplay. Because, okay, so let me talk about cooking for a moment, because I've been watching Gordon Ramsay. Okay, I've been watching Kitchen Nightmares and stuff. I think that with any task or project or thing that you want to do, there's the fun part and the reason you got into it, and then there is more or less the bullshit part of it. And it's the people who are willing to do and to get good at this bullshit part that are far and away the most successful. So with cooking, that you have these people who just say, oh yeah, I really want to make really delicious dishes. That's what I've always wanted to do, blah, 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 blah. But they're not willing to manage their restaurant well and to think intelligently about how to market and all this stuff. Yeah. And we see the sort of same thing with a lot of players, where there are the players who are willing to get unfocused and refocused, who are willing to play in hot or cold or uncomfortable or comfortable environments, who are really, really, really successful. I mean, how many times has Teja won DreamHack and been like, man, I was so tired during that DreamHack? Everyone's like, oh, Teja, you're the best. Literally, you beat everybody. Like, those sorts of moments make you appreciate this out-of-game problem that all these players are having to face. And as easy it is as it is for someone to say, oh, there's the disconnect and I got mentally thrown off and that's not fair, that needs to not happen. That person's still always going to be losing to the guy that says, all right, no problem, we disconnected, let's get back in it.
Yeah. That actually sounds awesome. I am so sorry. It turns out I need to relog, and I need to go get my phone so I can put in my Battle.net authenticator code. I will be right back.
All right.
Security is very important.
Well, in that case, hello. It's just you and me. Oh, he's back. Never mind. Everything is okay. Everything is okay.
All right. So I am, in fact, the one that is completely delaying the game.
This is perfect. This is in fact ideal.
This is actually my revenge on players, because I've casted for tournaments before. Like, you know, there's like small weekly tournaments, etc. And I remember there was one particular one where it was like going into the finals of this, you know, smaller tournament, etc. And someone says, okay, yeah, hey, do you mind if I go to the bathroom? I'm like, yeah, that's totally fine with me. I mean, it's a very reasonable request. Guy disappears for like 30 minutes. I'm like, what is going on?
Oh, God, I hate it when that happens.
He comes back and he says, oh, yeah, my toilet's clogged. I had to walk across the street to a Denny's to use the restroom. And I'm like, so this is my revenge.
Standard.
Make the players wait.
How standard is that?
All right. Well,
there's a lot of that sort of thing that goes on and goes down.
Oh, yeah. I think that, especially with the live production stuff that I know you've been doing, there's definitely a lot more that can go wrong, actually.
Oodles and oodles that can go wrong. Mm-hmm. So much so an extraordinary amount of go-wrongitude can occur. and has gone wrong and will continue to go wrong. Oh, there's the count-in. Oh, yes.
Yeah. I always love how it's like 99% of the time, if you're just like, if you want to use a computer or something, you know, like, I don't know, maybe swapping out, all you're doing is swapping out keyboards or mice, everything will work fine when you plug stuff in.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do a tournament and it's like the grand finals, of course, when you plug in the keyboard, it's going to be like, well, no, that doesn't make sense. No. You know, control key is always going to be held down. Like, all those kind of like weird random bugs will pop up at the most inconvenient time possible.
Yeah. And that's something that's so frustrating about, well, I think that's frustrating for many players, is there's almost this hidden promise, well, I guess I'd call it a false promise, of, you know what, if you can just practice really hard and get really good at this game, that's what will let you win this. But it's really not true at all. You have to be a master of all sorts of stuff you never thought that you would have to worry about.
Yeah, you can't just treat it as a skill set in a vacuum. It's where you're going to apply the skill set. But we're going to be jumping back into the game as the game has resumed. And so let's just recap on where we left off. Kelazhur pushing across the map, down quite a bit in the worker supply. And he has got to make a lot of damage happen again.
Yeah, he's really got to do something magical here.
Well, this is a magical spot, so to speak. It's a really nice area. Siege up into the middle line.
It's already working great for him. This is really good.
And at some point, Intense is going to have to respawn, right? Like, your SCVs, yeah, you can try and just mine from the top side of the mineral line, but eventually you try and saturate your mineral line. Oh god, the SCVs start mining from the bottom side again. You start losing them. Intense being very patient, though, not reacting just yet.
Looks like he's going to wait. He still has the lead in workers.
Ooh.
The only thing he doesn't have the lead in, again, is tanks. So it looks like there's a little bit of a Viking battle. They can trade Vikings. That's, whoa, Intense. That's so huge for Intense. Oh my god, that's very huge for Intense. There's not a lot of different ways to say that, but...
oh, the repair on the siege tank keeps it alive. Through the scan, Kelazhur has to throw down a second scan with the siege tank.
That is a move right there, man.
Well, the patience of Intense definitely paying off, but I will say behind all this, Viking and a siege tank lost for Kelazhur kind of obviously sucks, but he's actually at an even worker count now, Sean.
Wow. That was a hell of an exchange. Beautiful repair micro from Intense and repositioning. I mean, there's so much that can go wrong there that he made go right.
Yeah, no kidding.
What a tough spot, and managed to pull it off. But of course, there is the equally terrifying counter swing from Intense. So,
Well, Intense does have only one siege tank with this push, even if he does have a couple more out on the map, leaving those back at home, siege up in defense of any kind of drops that Kelazhur is actually just, actually not going for the drop, unloading on the low ground. Oh, is he trying to make sure this push does not get set up the same way he did?
Oh. His predictive abilities are almost awesome. Oh, no.
Oh my god, it's out of vision
He's out
range.
of range. Oh no, Kelazhur, nearly brilliant, nearly doing exactly what he needed to do, and that drop in the main base. Now all of his units are actually way out of position. Intense. I hate to say this, but got so lucky with that. Kelazhur knew exactly what he needed to do. Picks off critical unit after critical unit.
Oh, those Marines that were dropped there, also now they had a second opportunity, but they were already walking all the way back around that long loop of King Sejong Station. And Intense gets out of there, losing only 3 Marines and killing off 13.
Yeah, it really hurts to see that whole force wandering all the way back around. I mean, you're just not catching a break as Kelazhur right now.
Well, we're back in a position where Kelazhur had evened up the worker count, and now he's back behind. So, Kelazhur, again, onus is going to kind of be on him to make something happen, although, different stage of the game, has a lot more siege tanks and everything. I'm not actually sure. Do you think that's going to make it harder or easier to get damage done at this point?
Well, that's actually kind of an interesting question. Because, if I'm looking at the broad state of the game, Kelazhur is turtling himself up super hard, which, typically you'd say, yeah, that's terrible for him. If you ever are forced to turtle, you are in a guaranteed losing situation because your opponent will just expand on the backside of that. But we've seen Intense willing to do a little bit of riskiness there, willing to get a little bit over-eager, I might even say, just to be able to get into a good position. And here we see Kelazhur kind of riding out to meet him.
Yeah, getting that vision with the medevac, both of them will be, but Kelazhur does have all of his siege tanks sieged up, and I think that's going to be enough to scare Intense off for now. So, nice kind of positional defense over there for Kelazhur, and Intense actually losing that one medevac.
Right now we're seeing Kelazhur have control of his downside ramp, Intense trying to move down and right. I'm not sure how much I like this. I still am looking for second factory from these players so they can continue to increase their tank count. Kelazhur, though, well aware of these threats continuing to scan. He's behind on supply, and I am not entirely positive that he is going to be able to deal with this. Intense can continue to apply pressure, can continue to sort of indirectly contain this force, but it looks like Kelazhur is beginning to move out. That's very risky. A Marine does spot the drop, though.
Well, is it going to be enough? Well, as Kelazhur starts continuing move across the map, does he retreat? No, he's going to go for this. Oh my god!
Oh my god, get cleaned up. That is just a glorious win right there for Kelazhur. Oh my god, there's nothing here. Wait, there's the drop into the natural expansion. Kelazhur is in panic mode. He's sending his Marines, sending his workers. Those are all going to fall. But Kelazhur's force, I like it a lot more outside the front. He has 7 tanks to the 2 of Intense.
Get into a good position down here on the low ground, moving some of those siege tanks up to the high ground, getting on top of the production facilities. He could make some magic happen.
And there it is.
Oh, and at the same time, Intense is trying to clean this up, but the production facilities actually make it so hard for his Marines to get into a good position. At the same time, Intense is doing some damage. He's starting to attack the production facilities of Kelazhur as well.
And right now, I think Intense is in a losing position. The siege tank count is too high. The Marines in the main base have got to really do absolutely everything here. But that's looking almost impossible right now.
Oh man, only 5 Marines left over here for Intense, and this is not the damage that he needed. He needed to do an equal trade in a sense. Like, he's lost or he's going to lose every single one of his production facilities. At this point, I almost think, like, start reproducing them, start making them like all on the low ground and the natural, the third or something.
He's got to begin flooding with barracks at his third. No, he's bringing SCVs. He's gonna try to hold this off. This is a very. I have no idea how to even know who's gonna win this. Kelazhur is in a much better, much more entrenched position. I would give him the edge. I think maybe Intense is not going to go for this. Maybe he's going to try to regroup and go around. It's unclear.
Well, he's bringing his Medivacs back that he had doing the drop, and he looks like he's preparing. He cannot let Kelazhur get the time to just unsiege and escape. Oh my god.
Intense recognizes how weak, how feeble those main defenses are, how everything is here in the main. So what is he going to do? He's going to siege up, he's going to sit tight, and he's going to doom drop with everything else.
This is, in a sense, in a lot of ways, all in. I mean, at this point, he's got to make all the big damage happen. He's already going to kill off the natural command center. That's already a nice win. Kelazhur not really mining a whole lot. So if on top of the fact that he's going to lose all of these production facilities, this could work out well in a base trade situation for Intense.
Oh my god, Intense should be able to slam through this. Oh god, the command center is getting lifted. Kelazhur is desperate. He's trying to stay alive. His huge
run the
army
CC away.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, that's his only command center.
It's his only command center, and it's gonna fall. Does he have any SCVs in the unit count?
He doesn't have enough minerals for command center.
There's no SCVs on the map. That's it. That's his whole base. He's moved in. He's moved into the main. He tried to go ahead and take out the entire army. No, he doesn't do it. Good game, well played. Intense is wrecking through this.
Wow, Kelazhur seemed like he had found that one opportunity. Was initially starting off down in the game, found a good opportunity to do some damage, then went down again, found another opportunity to get some really good damage done, but Intense had the just exact right reaction, got his army loaded up, left enough back at home to just slow down Kelazhur from being able to push directly in and just start killing everything off. But
that was, I mean, I think that's a tough position, no matter how well thought out your build order is, no matter how good you are in the matchup. When you are down a main base, to be able to have the wherewithal and Intense's position to siege your tanks up in smart ways that coordinate with your buildings, and then to just send those medevacs cross map, that's a hard decision to make, and just such a smart one. It really forces the issue on Kelazhur. Hey, you wanna attack me? All right, this is your only attack that you will ever get in the entire game.
Yeah, and with that being said, Intense now leading up 3-0, one game away from winning the Invitational, and the next map is going to be Dead Wing. I don't
Robbie,
know.
You have to forgive me because I have to
yes.
go at
I was
7.
about to ask you about that. Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you want me to fill time? What can I do?
Sean, I will tell you exactly what you can do.
All right.
Do your shoutouts and tell people. I know, obviously, I will be amazed if anyone is not already following you on Twitter, doing all that good stuff. But I want you to do shoutouts just because it's a small tangent. It's a small tangent, but I really unbelievably appreciate the support that you, In Control, Tempo Star, like all these people have given to things like this, where I know a lot of people say, like, again, going off a tangent, but Old Boys Club, all this stuff. You know what? Thank you so much. It means a ton to see you guys coming in, supporting some of these smaller things going on. And where can people find you at, man?
Well, dude, okay, so day9.tv or day9TV, type it in wherever, I'm probably there. But here's what I actually want to say, which is regarding you, Mr. Fear Dragon, because, I mean, there's a lot of people I know who want to get involved, who want to do things. And I think it was at either an MLG or a BlizzCon where we spoke.
Yeah, MLG.
It had to have been an MLG Anaheim, I think. Long ago, and you asked, what can I do to get involved? And I'm really interested in casting. And I remember I said, well, dude, come on, just cast. And I've had that conversation with at least 100 people. And nobody did it. Except you. You actually went out there and you made a video a day for 30 days and tweeted me the links, and then you kept doing it. I even remember on day 31, you were like, did it for 30 days, gonna do day 31. And I looked at Twitter and I was like, holy shit, he's actually doing that. And I still remember the day that I saw StarCraft retweet your Breakout Invitational. #2 was happening.
Yeah.
And for anyone who's ever interested in getting into the space and getting involved, you just do the thing, you make the thing of value happen, and then I think it would be hard to find people who wouldn't want to support, like Tempo or In Control, like who just are willing to be like, oh yeah, sure, I'll just show up. That sounds awesome. Let's do it. So I'm really excited that you are running this event to help give more eyeballs to people who are trying and training and getting a leg up in the North American scene and the ladder scene, because so often there are the same players at that top level that you hear about again and again and again, and it's easy to miss out on all the interesting players, the struggles, the strategies that are happening in those people who are aspiring pros. And I want to say thank you so much for making this event. You're the man, Mr. Ravi, and thanks for inviting me. It was awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sean. Before I start getting teary-eyed, head out, man. Thank you again.
Woo! You're the best. I'm going to send another tweet. I'm going to go. I am going to eat, and I have a play test. But until then, continue casting. And it might be short because Intense seems to be one game away from winning. He's really good. All right, bye!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Sean Day9 Plot. He is definitely a character and an amazing guy, so be sure to check out his game at Artillery Games. But with that being said, we are going to focus now on the players at hand. We are ready to get this next game started. It's going to be game number 4. I might not have the same intelligence or game knowledge as Sean, but I'm going to do my best as we take a look at the remaining games in this series. This potentially match point for Intense. Intense looking so unbelievably strong. Kelazhur, God, he looks so close to making over that hurdle of taking a game, putting his name on the scoreboard. He just needs to get that first win on the scoreboard if he wants to make the comeback. I know there are a lot of Kelazhur fans out there. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Dead Wing is going to be the next map, and in the meanwhile, I really quickly do also want to give a huge shout out and big thank you, as long as we're going ahead and doing that right now, to Patrick Quist, Alexander Pleon, and Connor Worley for your guys' donations. I see they're actually really freaking awesome donations. All of you guys, you all are amazing. And I'll update you guys on the prize pool, but I'll do it after this game because we're jumping into it as we spawn down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map on top of the player who is currently up 3-0, representing IVD Gaming, looking to be an unstoppable force. It is the Macro Machine, Intense. And his opponent spawning up here in the top right-hand corner of the map as the blue Terran player. He's been down and out, but he showed a glimmer of hope in that last game. Can he make it something better? Can he make it sparkle and shine to a glorious victory? It is going to be representing Team Pro Dolly, Kelazhur. And now I'm looking in the chat and realizing that sounded a lot like, that whole thing sounded a lot like the tournament just ended, but we're still going, guys. We still have the rest of this series left over, whether that be just one game or potentially even another 4. Only time will tell, but I'm really interested to see how this game is going to go. We've seen fairly different openings throughout the different matches. One thing that has been consistent is in Intense's openings, he seems to really like going for the 1-1-1 opening in some variation, shape, or form. Always gets up that Barracks Factory starport, and sometimes he'll get the reactions on. That's the kind of stuff that we're going to be looking for in terms of deviations. But you know, one thing Day9 definitely enjoyed talking about were the maps and kind of positioning. Because oh my God, if you think TVT is not an incredibly positioning based matchup, you have not been watching this series, and in that case, I welcome you to the stream. So Deadwing, very interesting map. I think that there is a very nice angle directly above Intense's main base and below Kelazhur's main base, where you can actually fly in those drops, get a lot of really nice damage done, and it can be a bit difficult and annoying to deal with. I think that in terms of third expansions, etc., there's also the most important thing I think you have to talk about, which is those low grounds below the third expansions. That is just juicy prime area for sieging up siege tanks. We saw actually in the game on Overgrowth how Intense was able to siege up by the 3rd expansion and deny Kelazhur from ever establishing that. And you can just imagine, if you're able to do that on this map as well, oh god, you can just absolutely shut down 3rd expansions from your opponent and really just take a 3rd expansion of your own. If you could defend against the drops, if you leave enough units back at home, you can get enormous advantages and eventually just power through to win the game. Second gas guys are now going up though for Kelazhur a little bit later than Intense is. Intense maybe thinking about grabbing a reactor or something on one of those factories, the barracks or a starport. Looks like Tech Lab's going to be going down for Intense, and we already have a nice little Tech Lab going down for Kelazhur on top of that factory. Going to be swapping it over to the starport, so very, very similar, standard 1-1-1 openings coming out of both of these guys. Wouldn't be too surprised again, see that Banshee play. Actually, I would say more than anything else, when Intense is looking like he's looking right now, where he's made that Tech Lab, he ends up going for the Banshee, and not only that, but he's also consistently gone for the second Banshee, the follow-up Banshee that I was actually a little bit critical of, but here we end up seeing, again, that first Banshee with Cloak, and the second Banshee, I was a little bit critical of, because I was like, you know, it seems like it's out of that opportunity, that normal time where you could actually go and do a whole lot of damage to the Banshee, but Intense has proven me wrong in the past and done a ton of damage to that second Banshee before. We'll see if he can do it again. Or maybe he'll just make a lot of damage happen with the first Banshee, but the Reaper definitely not getting a whole lot done. Sees the Marines, sees 4 Marines, and that actually should be enough. Or sorry, 5 Marines. Should be enough, though, to know, okay, that Marine count, you've gone for the 1-1-1 opening. There's obviously no command center or anything over there. You can have a good feel for that sort of information. Raven now in the mix for Kelazhur, again, going to be playing that sort of defensive style. Lands a starport off of the Tech Lab so he can allow something else to build there, but before that he gets a Viking up. Because he knows that those Banshees have been a huge, huge pain in the butt when Intense is able to get those out and able to do a lot of damage. The first Banshee is making its way across the map. Now, Deadwing cross spawn is actually a pretty long way, so that actually does buy Kelazhur the much-needed time to get out that Viking, get his units in position to defend. I really like the positioning of Kelazhur's units right now. He has those units around, honestly, what I consider the most vulnerable aspect of his base right now. That's that building natural command center, because obviously if you lose the SCV building over there, that just means that your expansion's a little bit further delayed and everything. The mineral line obviously going to be the next biggest juicy target. Intense, he moves in, he's cloaked his Banshee, and Kelazhur has now realized that finally the first shots go off. Kelazhur reacts, and Banshee should be detected by the Raven. The Vikings now coming in the mix, but this Banshee has already done a massive amount of damage, killing off 5 workers. He was retreating with that Banshee, but I think that his life is going to be very short-lived as it does get cleaned up. But I'm telling you guys, no second Banshee. No second Banshee. All right, Intense, bearing it up. I'm not sure if it's maybe the map Deadwing being such a long spawn distance away from your opponent. That cross spawn position feels, you know, that's just a little bit too long for the second Banshee to get a whole lot done. Or maybe he just doesn't want to repeatedly do those 2 Banshee openings, saying that, you know what, Kelazhur may be expecting it after how that other time, the last time he went for it, went. So we'll end up seeing whether or not Intense is going to be okay with that damage he did, because honestly right now he's leading up pretty heavily, significantly in that worker supply. Kelazhur, he's the underdog right now, not necessarily just in terms of skill or anything, because Kelazhur, he is a fantastic player, but he's down in workers, he's down in the series right now. He cannot afford to be behind this early on in the game already. And once again, the onus, similar to the last game on King Sejong Station, the onus is on Kelazhur to make some magic happen. He's moving out with some Marines, seeing, I guess, what scouting vision you can get at that Zelnaga Watchtower. But actually, Intense has one of the Zelnaga Watchtowers controlled by a Hellion. That's going to be winning that fight. Widowmine's kind of strategically placed around the map for Intense. He actually has a Widowmine outside of his 3rd expansion, in a very interesting location. Not a location you actually anticipate it being, so if Kelazhur does decide to go for some kind of big move out and not even drop, just like a big push army move out straight down the middle of the map, he actually could end up taking some big damage from the Widowmine, which is why I really like that. But we'll see if that actually ends up being the case. Right now, Kelazhur looking content to just sit back and play defensive. I don't know how much I like this right now. So the things that are going in Kelazhur's favor, he does have a higher army supply right now. He has a couple of more units out right now. Obviously, it's hard to transition that advantage into a big kind of like, oh, well, let me just go attack you. I mean, it's going to take such a long time for his army to get across the map that by the time he gets there, Intense already has equal, if not more, army supply. So you have to be very, very careful about that. But what Kelazhur does have is he does have a larger number of Marines. If he can keep that lead and maybe now do something like take a faster third expansion on a map like this, actually, you know what, I was gonna say on a map like this, normally you think Deadwing, oh, easy to take third expansion, oh, it's a beautiful map. You're talking about PVZ if you're talking about Terran versus Zerg or something like that, but no, this is TVT where the siege tanks are real and you can siege up right outside your opponent's third expansion and do a massive amount of damage. Now Intense gonna be going for a little bit of a drop play, and both of these players, well, I was gonna say both these players slow to take those thirds, but Intense is going to be a little bit further behind on that as Kelazhur has thrown his down. It's building now in that natural area, and that kind of does lead into that sort of play style that Kelazhur is doing right now, where he's being the more defensive player, even though he's down a bit in workers. Double drop now moving in along the right-hand side of the map for Intense, and actually a Viking from Kelazhur spots it out. Now the Marines are going to unload, they're going to be able to kill off that Viking, but it's done. Job was done. Now Kelazhur is very much aware of that drop. He's moving his army over to the main base. He's moving a segment of his army. That's actually the most important thing. He has enough Marines over there to intercept in. Oh, Hunter Seeker Missile going down on top of the medevac. Oh my god, it doesn't look like Intense realized it. Oh, wow. Getting some massive hits off over there. Kelazhur doing a great job with some nice little creative play over there, realizing, hey, you know what, Intense, if you don't realize what's going on over here, if you're moving out across the map or doing something crazy, you're going to take a lot of damage. He kills off a majority of the Marines, also kills off one of the medevacs, so nice victory over there for Kelazhur, but he's got to defend this third expansion. This third expansion, he's going to be floating over down across the map. He doesn't actually have any vision of this move out, and oh my god, he's sending out 2 Marines at the exact wrong time. Oh, it's like 10 seconds, not even, maybe 5 seconds too late to scout out this move out, and this could actually be really important because he needs to siege up these siege tanks. He sees the siege tanks, and both these players are going to be sieging up around the same time, but there is a nice siege tank lead for Intense. The siege tank's not sieged up in as offensive of a position though for Intense. Kelazhur are able to get some really nice damage done, but oh god, Intense's Marines soaking up the hits and allowing his own siege tanks to survive, and oh no. Oh my god, could we be seeing Kelazhur go down like this in this final game? 5 siege tanks for Intense, 1 siege tank for Kelazhur. Of course, Kelazhur does still have his Marines. Intense, very low on that right now. Only 5 Marines left over. I feel like Kelazhur, he has stim. He could go for this. He needs to realize